All right, we have the mini lecture for March 26, 2013, Editing and Revising. 3 paragraphs should have been written and submitted March 8th about your biographical figure. First, the introduction. This gives the reader an overview of what you will talk about during the essay. History. This focuses on the upbringing and base level values for your figure. The sociocultural focuses on the difficulties faced by your figure. And then finally, 2 more paragraphs will need to be written. These will be worked on during the week of April 1st, 2013. How the person influences us today and serves as an example for fixing today's problems will be the next paragraph we write. And finally, the conclusion, which will remind the reader of what she or he just read and will leave them with inspiring words spoken by your biographical figure. But as we move forward, we want to, in the process of actually writing, engage in the writing process. It's not enough to write an entire document and then try to edit it at once. Editing is a way to become a master of your own work. The act of drafting and revising is it's essentially an act of gaining authority, of becoming the boss of your work. And your own understanding of your work is an important element of its authority. You need to be able to sell this work as a product, because there's going to be times in your life where you have to sell something you're not necessarily 100% behind, but hey, you might have to sell yourself to a prospective employer or a college or a mate, depending on what we're talking about. So let's talk about gaining authority over the work you have created thus far. We have already spoken about the fact a quality paragraph is best defined by its content, not its length. It should concentrate on one main idea. The sentence that states this idea most clearly is the topic sentence. The rest of the paragraph should give details that explain the topic sentence, and it must include enough detail to give a clear picture or understanding of what the writer is describing or discussing. These details or information are the content of a paragraph. A good paragraph is interesting. What makes a paragraph interesting is the substance of the writer's information, in other words, his or her ideas. Now, in order to create a good paragraph and overall a good composition, we have to engage in 2 different processes. What typically happens with most teachers is they think that revision and editing are the same thing, and they're entitled to that. But in my class, I have a different point of view. Revision comes first, and editing comes second. There are several things to remember when it comes to revision. To err, which means to make an error, equals success. We want to get rid of repetition and redundancy. The easy way to remember repetition and redundancy, the difference between the two, repetition is the same, the same, the same. And redundancy is same, similar, and alike. These are not quite the same, but they mean the same, and repetition is same, same, and same. You want to also pay your paragraph dues. You want to add more of these. Development and unity equals success. So you want to continue on the original ideas you started with, add to them, make them more descriptive, make them more interesting, and you want to unify your ideas. You want all of your sentences to make sense together, while at the same time fitting together as a paragraph, and then those paragraphs completely connecting with one another, flowing like waves on the ocean. The last thing is what I call editing, and that is what you guys are typically used to when it comes to looking at your papers. Spelling, grammar, the format, punctuation, capitalization, getting rid of bad adjectives and adding content-rich words or highly precise words. At the bottom of this piece of paper, you will find one quick way to fix your paper. This is a quick overview. The one thing that is a little bit different is at the bottom, I would like you guys to take your highlighters and highlight this. There are certain words you want to avoid using when you are writing a paper. And my father gave this to me when I was your age, and it was a magical tool. Get rid of the words that, so, then, many, cool, very, like, and the phrase a lot. They should appear only when absolutely no other word will work. If you can get rid of those words, you're going to sound like a much better writer. So let's go ahead and flip the page. Interesting. Revising a composition is, again, the first step. This goes into a little more detail. Just like before, I give you guys the simple, then the more complicated, and then if you want even further, we can expand it even more. When you are revising, you are looking at the way the words, sentences, paragraphs, and sections of writing fit together. We use the two acronyms, again, AIR and DO's, to remember the steps. To AIR equals success, we want to eliminate repetition and redundancy. Repetition being the same word over and over again, the same. And redundancy is when you state the same thing but use different words, same, similar, alike. Secondly, you pair your paragraph DO's. Development and unity equals success. Development is when you make sure all the sentences and paragraphs naturally continue and add to those that came before them. And unity is when you make sure that all sentences and paragraphs naturally connect to those that come before and after them. Again, editing a composition requires basically 5 steps. 1. Check to make sure you capitalize proper nouns in the first word of each sentence. Indent each of your paragraphs. Every sentence should have end punctuation. 4. Have you used commonly mixed pairs of words correctly? Check these out in particular. There, your, it's, and, to, our, and others. Read the paper backwards, one sentence at a time. This gets your brain to hear it a little bit differently, and you check for sentence fragments and run-ons and correct them. For a 7th grade language arts classroom, this is the very basics of editing and revising. Next up will be some examples of how this is done.